community partners, Keep Midland Beautiful, Doreen and Tamra, and they're going to start talking about recycling first.
Thank you very much, Hannah. We're happy to be with you today. We wanted to talk to you about things that you cannot recycle in Midland, because when we make our compost today, we're going to be recycling different products and thinking about what you can recycle in compost and what you can't recycle in Midland, okay? And then if we have time later on, we will talk about what you can recycle in Midland, okay? So, a lot of people think, oh, this is wrapping paper. You know, you get a birthday present and you want to recycle it. But wrapping paper, not so much. You cannot recycle wrapping paper, even if it's your birthday or Christmas or Mother's Day or anything. Can't do it. What about these? We see them floating around. What you should do with them is tie them up in a knot so they don't blow around anymore, and then gather up a bunch of them from the store and take them back to the store and they'll recycle them, make them into brand new plastic bags. What about like shampoo? We use it in a shower, in the bath, but if you look on the bottom of it, it'll have a triangle, and if it is not a 1 or a 2, you can't recycle it. So be sure that it's a 1 or 2, and then you can recycle it. If it's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, can't do, sorry. In Midland, tin cans are not recyclable. What? I know, but aluminum is. But cat food cans, dog food cans, tuna fish cans, no can do, but you can do aluminum cans like soda cans. The red Solo cup, what can you do with this? Can you recycle it? I'm sorry, you cannot recycle these type of cups in Midland. You could write your name on it and reuse it over and over again before it starts to break down, and then you throw it away. Okay. This is another example of plastics that may or may not be recycling, because if it's not a 1 or a 2, you're gonna have to go ahead and put it in the trash. Because in Midland, what can we do? Number 1, number 2, recycling. Okay, so we'll look on the bottom, and what is that? That is a number 2. That's a 2, so yes, we can recycle it, but you gotta look on the bottom, because if it's a 3 through 7, we can't do it. Everybody loves these popping bubbles that you get sometimes when you get a package in the mail, or it might be stuffed in a Christmas gift. Are these recyclable in our plastics? No. Sorry, we're not really sure if it's what number it is. So if it's not a 1 or a 2, we can't do that. But what can we do with it? We can reuse it. We could save it until we're gonna ship something, or you could take it to one of the ship and mail locations and they'll reuse it when they're mailing things out, and they're awful happy when you bring this kind of stuff in, because they can use it. Okay, the ever popular Ziploc bag. What do you think? Can we recycle it? No. I'm sorry, but there's no recycling of Ziploc bags in Midland or anyplace else, as a matter of fact. What can you do with it though? Can you reuse it? Yeah, if it's clean the first time you use it for something else. Some people will even wash it out and use it again. Now, after you zip it, sometimes it wears out. Can you recycle it? No, still can't recycle it. You've got to put it in the trash after it has been used over and over again. Yeah, this is another thing that people want to recycle, but inside here is again that poppy plastic. No, you cannot use this again either, because the post office won't take these twice. So this has to go in the trash, sorry. Or, you know, it does have the plastic poppy things in it. You could roll it up and use it for packaging, right? Okay. This is packaging that Hannah just found this morning. It has the recycle symbol on it. It says it's recyclable, and I bet it is in some places besides Midland, because we can only do number 1 and number 2. And this has a 7 in the middle of it. See it? Okay, so what can we do with these? We can pop them and have fun, but you should probably save it and use it again when you're mailing something or need something to be secure in a box, okay? The one other thing I was gonna talk about was these wrappers. For some reason, some people think that because it's got the shiny stuff in here, it's aluminum, like aluminum foil. It really isn't. It's kind of a preservative kind of material. Anyway, this is not recyclable. And by the way, when we're talking about aluminum foil, it's not recyclable either. Now some people reuse it, and that's fine, but no recycling in the aluminum container. That's for aluminum cans only.
Perfect. Thanks,
Yeah,
Maureen.
you're
So
welcome.
now we're going to roll into composting. So how many of you out there want to learn how to compost, already compost, or, you know, are trying to compost? You know, I already compost. What about you, Dory? Do you compost?
I don't, so this is going to be a great lesson for me.
Perfect. And Tamara, what about you?
We semi-compost at home. It's kind of we have a pile of leaves and we rotate it and reuse it when we can, but nothing like this. So I'm super excited to do this.
Okay, perfect. So when you're composting, there's lots of different ways to compost. Today we're going to do more of like a take-home style that you can do in your house, but they have compost bins or compost tumblers that you can put in your backyard. And the tumblers turn, because you're going to learn that you always have to turn your compost. There are some really easy ways to make compost bins. You could do pallets and put up pallets in a square and put your own pile in a compost bin. You talk about leaves, that's the simplest and easiest way to compost. Whether it be in a pile or you rake up your leaves and you forget that you left them in your trash bag, and then you open the trash bag a couple months later and you have this beautiful, wonderful dirt. So that is, you're already composting if you do that. That's the simple, easiest way to compost. But today, we're going to try a different way. So what I have today is, of course, I'm recycling my large liter pop bottle. Okay.
Good job,
And
Hannah.
Thank you. And this is a really fun experiment, especially for kids. So what you do is you cut your bottle in half, or about 3/4, okay? And you need 2 of them. And then what you'll do is you'll take the 2 tops, and this is going to be your catch-all, okay? So the one that's going to stay in the bottom, it's very hard to see, but I've gone through and poked little holes with a like a push pin. Because the main thing in compost is compost needs air.
Yes.
Okay, so it needs lots of air. So no, if you decide that you want to use a tote to compost, that's great, but you're going to need some holes in it, or you're going to need to keep it open so that you can turn it because it needs air. So I'm going to make compost in this bottle today. What we're going to do is, here's my other half, so we're going to recycle. We are going to, you know what, instead of using a new Ziploc bag, should we reuse your Ziploc bag that you just told us about? Okay.
Yes, we should.
Perfect. So Dory's going to use this one, and
Thank
she's
you.
going to put her compost in this bag. Now, if she puts her compost in this bag, all compost needs air, and we also have to water it. So if you keep it in the bag without any holes, what do you think is going to happen?
Doesn't sound like it'll work.
It's not going to work. So I brought scissors today if you want to
Yay,
cut
good.
some little lines in there so that it at least drains. And then I'm going to give Tamara a new bag and a straw. And so this is what we did last year with you guys for kids to take home. So you're going to take this home, and when you get home, you're going to put it in something and then open it up so that the water can get out. But for today,
slits along
yes,
the bottom.
you will.
Okay.
But for today, you're going to make it, and then you're going to open up your straw, and you're going to put it in there and seal it up so at least it gets some air.
Now, I see that we have lots of paper on our compost piles here. Do you think I could use this paper as part of my compost?
Sure can. can. Yes, you can. So,
I'm gonna stuff it down in here.
before we go through kind of what it is to compost, you need to remember, if you remember anything from this talk today, I want you to remember that you need 2 parts brown to 1 part green.
2 parts brown, 1 part green.
Yes.
Got it.
And so you're going to know why that's important here in a second. So your browns are your carbons, okay? And we're going to go through the list of some of the things we have here today. And I want to see if you guys can kind of guess what's brown and what's green, okay? Because our greens are nitrogen, and nitrogen breaks things down and get things going. So really we do want, if we want our compost pile to be quick, so that we can have this beautiful, wonderful smelling dirt to put in our houseplants, to put in our garden, anywhere in our yard, we're going to want nitrogen to speed up the process, okay? But we're going to start here. So I brought some banana peels, okay? What do you guys think about banana peels?
I think bananas are going to be nitrogen rich.
They're a little bit nitrogen rich, but I would call them more a little bit carbon. Now, we're talking about composting, but we also earlier were learning about vermicomposting,
Yes.
which is composting with red wigglers. And that's a really fun way to really compost your kitchen scraps. So, I brought bananas because we ate some bananas this morning, so I thought, why not? But those red wigglers really love your kitchen scraps. And we'll talk about some of those kitchen scraps that you can use and some that you can't. But bananas are wonderful. Okay, up next is, we think, lint.
Dryer lint.
Dryer lint. What do you think I should, what would that be? Green or brown?
I think it is brown.
You're correct. Yes. Okay, so up next I have, this is alfalfa. So I have horses, so you're going to see some horse-related things here. So this is fresh green alfalfa. What do you think that is?
I'm still going with green.
You're right, it is nitrogen rich.
It's green though.
Very, very, it is green, I know, right? Okay, the next one I have here is some old potting soil, okay? What do you guys think this old potting soil would go with?
Brown.
Brown, of course, because it's brown, okay? Up next I have some leaves. In here I have some, I also have some pine needles, but just overall, you know, it gives it away. What color is it?
Brown.
It's brown. Okay, up next. Anybody, any idea what this could be? I said I had horses earlier. This is horse manure, okay? And this is really, really aged horse manure. Now, why do you think I didn't bring in fresh horse manure?
Because fresh horse manure has too much.
You are correct.
Too much nitrogen and it will kill your compost.
You are very correct. That is the common misconception. Horse manure is great, but it needs to be aged.
And it stinks.
It does stink. You put it on right away and it's going to smell. Yes. So you want this aged. This is something that I would say you're kind of composting already because this was out in a pile that I left to leave it, to let it sit for a little bit. But it's horse manure. So what color does it look like?
It looks brown, but
It's green. It's a green.
Yeah.
Yep. And you know, of course, if it's a little fresher, obviously it's a hotter green. But I would prefer that you use something that's a little more aged.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we have grass clippings. So what do we think there?
Green.
Still green. Now, of course, our egg cartons. Can we use these in composting?
Yes.
Well, I
Yes.
would think that particular type, yes, but not the plastic type.
Correct, not the plastic type, but the top of this egg carton is very similar to what I would say is your,
Wrapping paper?
thank you, wrapping paper. And so if I'm going to compost this, I need to take this off, okay? So this is kind of like magazines. That's
It
that
is.
shiny
paper.
Paper.
No recycling.
not recycling. Yep. Okay, so I had egg cartons, and then of course I have eggshells. These are wonderful. What would you say eggshells are?
Green.
I'm gonna go with brown.
They're brown. Yeah, they're brown. But so eggshells,
So much calcium.
they
too.
do. And eggshells have just a really fun fact about eggshells is you can put them in your compost, but they are wonderful just to put out in your garden just the way they are. So not only does it help to add some calcium to your garden,
Yes.
but because they are, you know, kind of sharp,
Yes. Yes.
those animals and insects that have those soft bodies do not like to travel over those.
No.
So it's a nice little organic,
Insect barrier.
yes, insect barrier. Okay. So up next we have toilet paper rolls or paper towel rolls, and those are definitely things we can add to our compost. Now, of course, I have just some shredded newspaper. So of course newspaper works, but not the inside shiny,
Right,
the ads and, groceries and those types of things. Okay. Then of course we have some paper. So this is already shredded, but I can have sheets of paper here that we could reuse. Next, this is actually aged alfalfa. Okay, my horses left this, and actually this looks really great. But what would I call that?
I would call it brown.
Brown. You're right. And what did we miss while I was going right through this line? What are all these three things? Brown and green. Browns. Yeah, that's that. It bulks up my pile. Browns are that filler. We really want that filler. Now, you guys don't have to touch this, but this is my hair. Okay? You can recycle your hair. It's definitely one. Or, I didn't brush my dogs this morning or my cats or anything like that.
Yes.
But you can recycle the dog hair, fur. Those are different things. And these would be another filler, another brown. Okay?
These are great they're like eggshells, and they're really great for gardens too, because they add in nutrients that you might be missing.
See? So don't pull that hair out of that brush and throw it in the trash. Leave it for your compost. Okay, up next is we have coffee grounds, and the filters. And these are great. Again, this is another one that you could put directly into your garden. They don't have to age by anything. You could just take it and throw it right in. But what do you guys think coffee is? Brown or green?
I'm gonna go with the brown.
Me too.
Okay. What does coffee give you guys in the morning?
Caffeine.
So coffee is the one thing that might look brown, but it's a green. Okay? So it gives you that energy, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then this is, I drink tea, and this is loose leaf tea.
Yes.
And so it's kind of a brownish green, but again, what do you think that is?
I'm going with green this time.
Yeah, green, definitely.
It definitely is. That's a green. Okay? So before we make our bottles, one more thing. Cardboard.
Yes.
Okay? So, again, great for your compost. Cardboard's pretty thick. So what would you do with it maybe before you put it in your compost?
Make it smaller, put it in pieces.
I try to get it wet and maybe use it as like the bottom to filter out for our compost tea.
Yes, perfect. So one thing I didn't bring today was branches. You can put branches in your compost, but compost is going to break down and be this, similar to this, but beautiful dirt. But it's going to break down quicker if things are already, chopping it up, make it smaller. One thing you can do with your cardboard is put it down in your garden as a pathway and put your mulch over the top. It helps prevent those weeds from coming up.
And helps keep the water in the soil.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which in this heat, we need something to help keep that soil nice and cool instead of scorching the plant.
Exactly. So, we are each going to make our own compost. What's the one thing we need to remember?
2 brown, 1 green.
2 brown, 1
oxygen.
green. Yes. Water, oxygen. Look at that. 4 things. So, again, you have to have that air, so you're going to cut the bottom of your...
I put some holes in there.
Perfect. I have holes here, and what are you going to do with yours?
Well, when I get home, I'm going to put it in a little container similar to Miss Doreen's and cut some holes along here so that I have air and drainage.
Perfect. Now, I guess we're going to make this. When I take it home, do I have to put it somewhere specific? Should I put it somewhere specific? Does it need to have sun? Does it need to be in the shade? Does it matter? What do you guys think?
I don't think it matters.
I think beginning I would want it in the sun just to keep it nice and warm, because that would help the microorganisms in there that are making the compost for me.
So, yes, good point. But your green will also heat up your compost pile. So, either way, you can always compost if you're in your backyard and you only have a shaded spot, you can still compost in the back.
That's great.
There's hot and cold compost. Either or works. It doesn't have to be in either sunny or location. Now, do you have a sister or do you have kids at home?
I've got 3 kids at home.
Are you gonna put this compost that might be stinky in their room?
Maybe.
Exactly. Think of if your neighbors always sit outside, maybe don't put it right next to the fence that they always sit at, okay? Just be a little considerate
be
as
nice.
to where you put your
Yeah.
compost, because what you will know is you have to troubleshoot your compost, okay? So we're gonna do 2 parts brown to 1 part green. And it's gonna water, it's gonna degrade, it's gonna go, break down, and we're gonna keep adding to it. We're gonna stir it, we're gonna add maybe some more water. Now what if I turn on the hose and it just comes out full blast and gets everything soaking wet?
You need water in it,
You do.
so it'll be okay, but you're gonna have to move it, and let it dry out.
Yes, or add a lot more bulk
Oh,
material.
sure, you can just add more filler.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Especially dry filler, right?
Exactly, dry filler. You want those brown fillers. And because of that, if I left it with a lot of water, what happens when you have like, I don't know, I'm thinking like a pond or something that's just really, really wet and moldy? What's that smell you get?
Whew. Stagnation and mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite things.
Exactly, so that's something that you don't want. So composting there are some issues with it because you have to troubleshoot. You think, oh, no, I think this is perfect, or maybe you think all of this is a brown, so that's majority of your pile, and nothing's breaking down, you're not getting this beautiful dirt. So composting is troubleshooting. So after we make this today, I will show you guys some great books that the library has to offer. We also have some online that can help you along the way.
You can't ignore it either, right?
No,
So it might not get wet, but you can't just leave it alone. You still have to pay attention to it and see how it's doing.
yeah, turn it around. Really, you talked about compost getting hot, and you want your compost to get hot because, say for instance that this alfalfa that I put in my compost, it maybe had some weed seeds in it that I couldn't see. If my compost doesn't get hot enough, those weed seeds are still going to live. So when I have this beautiful dirt that I'm going to add to my garden, and next thing I know, I have all these weeds.
Yep.
It's because my compost didn't get hot enough. It didn't kill those weed seeds. It didn't kill some of those, any type of disease or anything that might have been in the soil. Okay, so you want your compost to get hot. Okay, so you could put a thermometer in it if you're very serious about it. Okay, should we get started?
Yeah.
All right, let's get started.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna do this on the bottom. Coffee.
Did you have enough this morning? Not yet. Okay, this will crank it up. I want one of these too. Because then you have filler and the go juice, as they say. Okay. Dry out alfalfa. Let's see.
You already know what you're doing. I'm gonna be brave. I'm going in for the.
Oh,
horse
you
manure.
are?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
it
and
makes
with
it
her
such a-
hands. Hey,
Okay, I'm gonna
that's
wash
okay.
really good after this.
It's aged.
Put some dirt in there to give it a suggestion.
This is where I want you to grow
This
to
is
where
what
I
I
want
want
you.
you to grow to. Yeah. A little newspaper, so it's got something to read.
A little manure top.
See, I'm not the only one going for that manure.
No, I know it. But I decided to let mine be. Turn this up a little bit so it's
Perfect.
ready. Nobody used any bananas.
Oh yeah, I didn't put bananas in mine.
No.
Didn't either.
Now if I had red wigglers with me,
I know
probably
it.
would.
Yes,
But
yes.
What are red wigglers for those people who don't know?
they are a certain type of worms Okay, and they are specific to what we call vermicomposting, which is warm compost.
Cool.
So what they do is when you're composting and you're adding kitchen scraps, which I can add kitchen scraps, but the one thing you can't add to any compost, no matter if it's vermicomposting or not, is no meats.
Right?
Okay, no dairy.
No dairy, no
No
milk.
dairy, yeah, no, none of that.
Yeah.
Now, I brought horse manure. Chicken manure is great.
Oh, yes, but be careful because it's super, super nitrogen
It's
rich.
very hot, yes. Goat manure is great. Now, what about, I have dogs.
No. No cats, no dogs,
No
no
cat-
meat eaters.
Exactly, no meat eaters, but horse, cattle,
Yeah, cow patties are awesome. for
goats, rabbits. Rabbits are
Oh,
wonderful.
rabbit pelts.
And then, of course, you keep rabbits or you keep chickens, and they have, you have, the bedding.
those. Yes.
That's a great little filler
Put
you
the
can
feathers
add as
off
well.
the
Yeah.
chickens.
Yep, sure.
Feathers are awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
I'm done with mine.
I'm done with mine.
Okay, so now let's kind of look at ours. So, mine is, mine looks a little different than everybody's.
It does.
Which is great.
You
Yeah.
get yours in layers.
I-
I totally shook mine up.
There's one thing you could do. If you want to make sure that you are getting 2 parts to 1 part, you can do the layers. So here's an example of the layers. You can kind of see the 2 parts. There's a little green in there, another 2 parts, and then some more green, right? Now, we're going to put water in it next. But what's really great about yours, that you mix them all together, is you've already started the process. I'm going to have to turn mine at some point.
Right.
And yours is already turned, so all the pieces will get to it.
Yeah.
So what did you get in yours?
I have coffee grounds, and I took a filter too, because that helps start filling.
Perfect.
And I have leaves, and that sort of sticks right there. I put in some cardboard from the paper towel roll. I put in some paper. Then I put in some dried out alfalfa, and I put in some newspaper. So since I put in all of those browns, I kind of thought I needed more green. So I went back and put a little bit more coffee on top.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Oh, and I put a little bit of lint in there just for good measure.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So what do you have in yours, Tamara?
So in mine, I started with the tea leaves, and then I worked my way down, and I used some of the green alfalfa, and I came through and grabbed some of the shredded newspaper, and worked my way to the eggshells, because I grow a lot of tomatoes, and eggshells help with the blossom rot. So I don't want to have that. I want to eat my tomatoes this summer. So I put in my eggshells. I grabbed a little bit of the horse manure and some of the grass clippings. And then when I came back through, I had a little bit of coffee, some of the lint, and the soil.
Perfect. Okay, so now what's next? What else does our compost pile need?
It needs to be wet.
It
needs
needs
to
to
be
be,
wet.
it needs to start the process of
Right.
breaking down.
Exactly.
Okay, so what I'm going to do for mine is I'm going to put the top of my liter bottle, I'm going to kind of make it fold very carefully so that I don't spill, fold it in, okay? And then I'm going to just water. A little bit of water. So mine's kind of coming out the bottom. I'll put a little bit more in. Tamara talked about compost tea earlier. And that's something that, it's coming out, so it's a different color, doesn't look quite as water clear. And compost tea is another great, so as I'm adding to my compost bottle, and it's breaking down, and I add more water, and compost tea comes out, it's gonna be a brownish, tea-ish color. And what am I gonna do I'm gonna take my bottle off, I'm gonna have the water down here. Am I gonna throw that water in the sink?
No.
It's wonderful water. Your plants would love to have.
Yes.
Exactly. So, great way to catch all of this. I'll just take mine, I just take this right out, and then I'll dump this in houseplants, garden, anywhere. Yard.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
Who's next? You guys go for it.
Okay. I'm gonna put a little bit in my bag here. With mine, it'll be a little bit easier as long as I don't make a mess.
Ooh, you
And I
already
can
have
kind
one
of-
in your bag.
I can kind of squish mine around a little bit since I don't have holes yet, just to kind of get everything nice and moist in there, which is what we want. And if I need to, I can always zip it up and turn it upside down and let that water come back down through the top, right?
Of course.
And now mine's all nice and moist.
Yeah. Start the breakdown process.
Yes, we want to start the breakdown process.
Yes, okay, so I'm gonna pour some water in mine since I'm using an already used Ziploc bag. It has got an area that is in my way, but as you can see, I'm already making tea for my plants, compost tea. And this is kind of, I think, the best of both worlds, because you get to go ahead and mix it up a little bit in the plastic bag, and you get to capture the tea. So I really like this, Hannah. This
It worked out perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so that's really a brief overview of composting. Of course, we can do it on way larger scale or even smaller if we want. A few things that the library does have, of course, are books. So over here, I have some great composting books. So these are just two examples of some adult nonfiction books that are great for composting if you have questions or really want to just dive into it a little bit more and learn more about it. And then, of course, we have kids' books about composting. Composting, what's going to happen in my pile, talk about recycling day, all of it. So these are all great resources that we have. And of course, we have them, some other resources on our online resources. Hoopla, RB Digital also have great recycling and composting books that you can get on with your library card from home on a computer or on a tablet. That's really all I have about composting today, and thanks for joining us. But I do know that Keep Midland Beautiful has maybe a few notices that we need to know about coming up.
We do. Tamara, tell them what we got.
So as you've noticed, Miss Doreen and I are wearing our crew gloves because today was kind of our partnership with the library and Miss Hannah. Well, our next event is going to be on August 4th, and it's going to be outside our office. We are housed over at the Midlands Shared Spaces building, and we have covered tables that we're going to do, and we're going to be making making paper from paper that we can recycle into that. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and it will be on August 4th at 9 a.m. right outside our office in the nice shade.
Like paper that I can write on, or like what type of paper?
So if you've ever been to even Barnes & Noble and you've gone and looked at the journals and you feel some of the journals that feel like super thick, kind of soft paper, that's the kind of paper that we're going to do. You get to write on this kind of paper. You can even punch holes in them and put it into a binder so that you could have your own little journal that you make.
Or you could put seeds in it.
Yes.
And plant it in the ground. It acts as kind of a compost.
It does.
It's like, it's reusing, it's recycling, because we're going to take used paper and blend it and then make brand new paper out of it. You're going to have fun. It's going to be a good morning.
And we will have seeds there so that you can put different flower seeds into your paper so that you can go home and plant these flowers for this fall.
Yeah, so it'll be more recycling and more reuse, like you did today with the library and Hannah doing composting. Thanks a bunch.
Thanks for
letting
joining
us
us
here.
today.
It was fun.
All right, well, if you guys have any questions, you know who to call. You can always call the library. We're happy to help find a book. Or if you have any questions about recycling, what you can or can't, please call Keep Midland Beautiful. Thanks for joining us today.
Have a good day.